Sinclair Broadcast Group, connecting people with content everywhere.
Ahead on America This Week, we're another step closer to getting a vaccine approved.
If authorized, tens of millions of vaccine doses will be available this month.
As COVID cases rise and lockdowns loom, igniting protests. The former acting director of national intelligence, Richard Grenell, is here.
This story goes a little deeper in that he strategically was downplaying the Chinese threat.
You'll also hear from Senator Rand Paul.
Our debt now is over $27 trillion, so I don't think borrowing more money is the answer.
And Senator Rick Scott.
We all know what Chuck Schumer said. First, he takes Georgia, and then he changes the country, and his changes are horrible.
Plus, don't miss my conversation with Congressman Jim Jordan.
This is driving Americans crazy, and particularly the inconsistency.
And President Obama's former economic advisor, Austan Goolsbee, gives us his early 2021 economic forecast. That's all ahead on America This Week. Welcome to America This Week. More big news on the COVID front. President Trump has signed an executive order to make the U.S. a priority in getting the vaccine. And it sounds like we could get millions of doses before the end of the month. Now, if that doesn't make you say Merry Christmas, nothing will. The modern day politician, folks, he or she is elected by we the people. He or she is supposed to make laws, rules, and govern with the best interest of we the people in mind. We should trust and respect the decisions of our elected politicians. Unfortunately, the modern day politician, folks, is anything but that trustworthy. For the better part of 2 years, I've used this monologue to call out politicians for their constant lying. We've caught them cheating. We've even highlighted them stealing your money. Unfortunately, today, we caught them red-handed doing even more despicable, underhanded stuff than ever before. As these politicians close our businesses, shut down our bars and restaurants, and keep our schools shut, they do whatever the hell they want. To California, ground zero of politicians behaving badly. Let's start with Governor Gavin Newsom, who's literally shut down California. No gatherings, closed the restaurants, shut down non-essential travel. Apparently, Governor Hypocrite wasn't too worried about all of the above when he traveled to Napa Valley and dined in what appears to me as indoors with a group of associates. By the way, for a $450 per plate dinner at the very swanky French Laundry restaurant. How is the escargot, Governor? I mean, $450 a plate better be all that. P.S. San Francisco Mayor London Breed also chose the place down there that was closing down, yet she went to the French Laundry and had to try it out for herself the next night while the state was in transition to a total restaurant shutdown. Two despicable Democrats, Gavin Newsom and London Breed. This isn't funny, folks. It's despicable behavior by people we trust to make decisions on our behalf, to make rules and laws intended to protect us from bad things. So when they shut down our businesses and then do the opposite because they want to, it's infuriating to me, and it should be infuriating to you. I know it ticked off Angela Mardsen from LA's Pineapple Hill Saloon.
That's safe. This is safe? 50 feet away? This is dangerous.
More from Angela in just a minute. We should all feel disrespected by these people. Still in California, who can forget Nancy Pelosi sneaking into a hair salon, sans mask, while she and her fellow Democrats demanded hair salons be shuttered for COVID-19. Another despicable Democrat, Nancy Pelosi. On November 24th, LA County Supervisor Sheila Kuehl voted to ban outdoor dining. Just hours later, despicable politician Kuehl was caught chowing down at a restaurant which she just voted to shut down. Now, too bad the restaurant staff wasn't told about Supervisor Sheila's vote as they prepared her chicken masala. Waiter, why is there so much marsala on this chicken? Let's get out of California for a while to Austin, Texas, where Mayor Steve Adler pre-recorded this video advising people to stay at home.
stay home if you can. Do everything you can to try to keep the numbers down. This is not the time to relax.
Good thing Mayor Adler pre-recorded that video, because had he not, he would have had to record the video telling we little people to stay home. Wait for it. As he went to a posh wedding and then traveled to Cabo San Lucas aboard a private jet. Kid you not. Not the time to relax for us, huh, Mr. Mayor? Despicable politicians, folks. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock didn't record a video telling we average folk to stay home for the holidays, but he did tweet it. Take note of that big red X saying avoid travel, because within 30 minutes, Mayor Hancock was boarding the first of 2 planes to hang with family members in Mississippi. Despicable politicians, all of them. Philly Mayor Jim Kenney closed restaurants in his city of brotherly love. Apparently, the mayor wanted to partake in some restaurant love, so he traveled over the border to Maryland to dine at a friend's restaurant, even though restaurants in his cities were closing. These are just a few examples of the many examples of politicians making 2 sets of rules. There are rules for thee and rules for me, the politician. When rules and laws are arbitrary, folks, or capricious, or biased, or administered unfairly, it can be frustrating. But when rules are made that hurt our businesses, our families, our livelihoods, they better be administered evenly, or watch out. I've been saying this for a very long time. Government should be less invasive, not more invasive, controlling our day-to-day lives. COVID has given power-thirsty politicians an opening. They're using COVID to reach deeper into our lives, our businesses, and our wallets. We, the people, have to push back any way we can. I mean, we suffer, we sacrifice, we lose liberties, we lose jobs, we lose businesses. They lose nothing. They gain power over us. By the way, do you think Newsom, Pelosi, or the rest of those dirty scoundrels have lost a single paycheck while they shut our businesses down? No way, not a chance. Votes matter, folks. Don't let these people smile while apologizing. They're not sorry. They're just sorry they got caught. Fire them all. Now I want to bring in a business owner I mentioned in the monologue, Angela Mardsen. Angela, thank you for being here. And I think the American people need to understand just what it felt like when you spent that money setting up your tent for outdoor dining. You got shut down, but then there was a movie or a television studio that got to do the same exact thing a few feet away from you. What was that feeling like?
Well, on that particular day, to add to seeing that, I was giving last paychecks and bags of food to my staff who no longer had a job during the holidays. And it was shocking and numbing. And, I tried to hold it together when I came into my restaurant. I was trying to be kind of put on a good face, and I literally, tears just started streaming. And, one of my staff members hugged me, and I just said, I can't take it anymore. I'm so angry. Like, people have to start standing up for themselves. We have to start telling the truth, because it's ludicrousy. It's like, this makes no sense. We're destroying our economy. You know what I mean? It was heartbreaking, I have kitchen staff.
Heartbreaking, but also infuriating that these people, these lawmakers make these decisions that do this to you, to business owners. Meanwhile, Angela, none of them are holding back any of their checks. They're still getting paid week in and week out.
No, they're not. They're not. And let me tell you, every person, it's not about politics. It's about people. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. Everybody I talk to is fed up, and they've had it. They're like, if we're not going to get a paycheck and we're going to be told to stay home, and you're not going to fund us to stay home or make sure that we're okay, then you don't get a paycheck. You don't get a paycheck until we do. You work for us. We pay your paycheck. So why should you be able to go out to eat or get your hair done? Or, the hypocrisy, it's like, it's never ending. I mean, that can go on and on and on. You know what I mean? It's the Sheila Kuehl, the supervisor here, saying it's the most dangerous thing to eat out, and then shuts us down, and literally that day goes and eats outside.
You know what, and I ran out of time. I'm going to leave you there. We'll bring it back again later. But I got to tell you, the most infuriating thing is that these politicians, they get a paycheck from the American people. They've never had to risk their own money to open the doors of a bar or a restaurant or to pay a check or to let someone go, for that matter. It is just despicable what they do. And I said, fire them all. I agree with you, Angela. It's unfair. Angela Mardsen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
A new report released this week found a woman suspected of being a Chinese spy targeted several politicians in California and other places, including Congressman Eric Swalwell. Let's go to the former acting director of national intelligence, Rick Grenell. Rick, welcome back to the show. Boy, you read this thing and it sounds funny on surface first. She was trading sex for some what we think could be intel. What do you know? What do you hear? And how dangerous is this really?
Well, first of all, let's be really clear. Eric Swalwell has been somebody who has downplayed the Chinese threat for some time. He's overemphasized the Russian threat. And to be honest, if you go back and you look at some of his words, he's actually mocked those who have made China the primary threat. And I think that we're at the point now where we need to investigate why he was downplaying the Chinese threat. This is more than just a story of hypocrisy in Washington, D.C. We're all kind of over the fact that politicians are hypocrites. We all know that when living outside of Washington. But this story goes a little deeper in that he strategically was downplaying the Chinese threat. And I think that now we have to dig deep and ask ourselves, why is a member of the House Intelligence Committee allowed to do this? Certainly there's a scandalous aspect to this, and people want to know what's going on. But I think from a national security perspective, we need to understand why Eric Swalwell consistently downplayed the Chinese threat.
And they call her Fang Fang. Fang was her name. There is indication that she helped Swalwell raise money for his reelection, right?
I think there's a whole bunch of charges and speculation, and we need to get to the bottom of it. First of all, let's just be honest. The intelligence community knows exactly what happened. Eric Swalwell has been briefed on part of that, but even what they know is not in full. That's why I think it's really important that we get the Gang of Eight, the leaders in the House and the Senate and the leaders of the intelligence community. They're called the Gang of Eight. We need to bring them together, and they need to be briefed on exactly what is known about what Eric Swalwell was doing with this Chinese spy. As a member of the House Intelligence Committee, he had access to incredibly sensitive information. So it's really important that they understand what's going on. I've also seen reports that Eric Swalwell is saying that senior members of the Democratic Party knew exactly what was going on with him. And so is there an angle that the Democratic leadership authorized Eric being around this Chinese spy, and what happened exactly in their relationship? We need to know that. Certainly the Chinese constantly look to leverage their relationship on a variety of issues with politicians. And so as a member of the House Intel, this is a big problem. I will also say that I think the acting chairman, Marco Rubio, on the Senate side, should absolutely call for an investigation and a briefing. They could have classified briefings of members of the Senate and House Intelligence Committees to know exactly what happened, and I think they should do that immediately.
Well, let's unpack this a little bit. So we do know that the FBI and maybe the CIA were investigating what this access that Fang Fang had into Swalwell and other elected officials in America. But more importantly, Swalwell was one of the most vocal, out front members of the House Intelligence Committee when they were going after Donald Trump for the Russian collusion hoax, yet he himself may have been compromised by the Chinese.
There's no question about it, and that's what I want to get to the bottom of. Why was he downplaying the Chinese threat and overplaying and hyping the Russian collusion narrative? There's a nexus there. Look, the intelligence community has known for a very long time that China is our #1 threat. I can't go into great detail about what we do know, But I think there are several things in the public domain that we can highlight. One is the reaction that the Trump administration has taken to the Chinese strategy of going after politicians. You've seen what we've done at the consulate in Houston. You've seen the rhetoric from DNI, Radcliffe, and from Robert O'Brien, the National Security Advisor, and from President Trump. And I would also include Vice President Mike Pence. They've all increased their rhetoric on China and tried to be very strategic about the threats that are coming. And that is because the intelligence community knows that China has used their leverage against politicians for a while now. I will also say, because this is in the public domain, they've used the COVID-19 response and the need for PPE and how governors have needed some of those supply chains that are exclusively or were exclusively in China. They've tried to leverage their relationship with governors by saying, don't say anything negative or you won't get hand sanitizers or masks. I mean, they've been very aggressive with their leverage.
Rick, we're going to leave it there. I didn't get to it, but I just wonder if there's some sort of ethics violation to be cohorting with a Chinese spy, a Chinese national and a Chinese spy to raise money for an election campaign. I mean, it seems like a complete violation of ethics, but we'll pick that one up the next time. Rick Grenell, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Eric.
He worked on a bill to prevent dead people from getting stimulus checks, but now it looks like it will take years to actually go into effect. Senator Rand Paul, thank you for being here. Senator, let's just talk a little bit what's going on with this stimulus stuff, the timing of it. Now all of a sudden everyone's in a rush to get a bunch of, $1 trillion basically out to the people. Weren't Republicans ready to do that prior to the election?
Yeah, I think it's a mistake, though, to think that government is really what should stimulate the economy. The economy needs to be left alone, basically. We need to free up the economy. Capitalism is the absence of government control, the absence of government stimulus. The reason our economy's been struggling is because the government shut down your economy. So really the only way to get a valid and verifiable and long-lasting stimulus is to open up the economy. We borrowed about $3 trillion in the spring, and our debt now is over $27 trillion. So I don't think borrowing more money is the answer. There's actually some good signs out there too. Unemployment's down in the 6% range, which is actually better than it was during most of Obama's administration. And GDP grew 11% in the last quarter and is predicted to grow again this quarter. So I think really what we need to do is free up the economy and not think that the old liberal idea of printing up money and spending money we don't have. I think it's wrong for conservatives to adopt the ways of liberals and to pretend that this is the answer.
Amen, sir. I hope our audience hears that, because throwing more money at I watch the stock market go up because they're talking about more stimulus. Eventually, they have to stop throwing out free money and stimulating. It's going to get ugly if we don't work our way off the junk, so to speak. So let's talk a little bit about a back and forth you had with Fauci. You say, and you're a doctor, we're talking to a doctor, Dr. Rand Paul, if you've had COVID, get back out there and let's work towards herd immunity. Fauci got a little upset with you about it. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I've never said that we ought to just lay back and take coronavirus and get to herd immunity. But what I have said is that that's what we've been doing, is right now we're headed in that direction until we get a vaccine. Obviously, it's preferable to take a vaccine rather than to get the disease. But those who have had the disease naturally, we should acknowledge that they do have immunity. They have the same immunity that you'll get with the vaccine. In fact, they compare the vaccine to see if it's working by measuring your antibody level and then comparing it to people like me who have had the disease. So the thing is natural immunity, while not preferable to get the disease, we should acknowledge that there are some advantages once you have had it if you've survived. So for example, restaurants. We shouldn't close restaurants down. We should give people advice and say, if you're older, it might not be a good idea, but if you're younger, please go eat at the restaurants. If you're younger and you're one of the 15 million who have had this and you survived, please go eat at restaurants because you're not a risk. If you've had this and survived and you want to be a waitress or a waiter, restaurants should be encouraged to hire these people because that helps to block the virus from infecting people coming to the restaurant. If I owned a restaurant, I'd have a whole wing for senior citizens And I would hire purposely people who've already had the disease so I could offer it as a benefit that there's slightly less risk by dining because my waiters and waitresses have all had the disease. So we shouldn't discount immunity in the discussion. And I think Dr. Fauci and others, they're now saying that even after you get the vaccine, the New York Times is telling everyone, you're going to have to wear a mask for the rest of your life. Even after we have a vaccine, they want us to wear a mask. So somebody's got to push back on these lunatics.
The ugly overreach of government always looking to get more and more invasive into our lives. Talk a little bit, about a minute or so, sir. Schools. It appears that young people are not immune to it, but very, very unlikely to get COVID or actually have severe effects of COVID. These schools should be open, should they not?
Absolutely. There's no scientific evidence to show that schools end up spreading the disease. Countries across Europe and Asia have opened their schools without a surge in disease. There's no evidence that teachers' lives are being lost to this. What we're finding is you can open schools safely. There are a lot of problems with keeping kids home. They're not being educated, but there's also been an uptick in suicides and mental illness. So yes, we absolutely need to get our kids back in school.
We're going to say thank you to Senator Rand Paul, and I will note it again, Dr. and Senator Rand Paul. Rand, always good to have you on. Thank you. Joining me now is Florida Senator Rick Scott. Senator, a very important man with what's going on. One state over from you in Georgia, a couple of senators about to be elected a couple of weeks from now. What are your thoughts on both of those races, Kelly Loeffler and Warnock, and David Perdue and Ossoff?
Well, first off, I think we're going to have two big wins, and I think it's very important that we win these states. We all know what Chuck Schumer said. First, he takes Georgia, and then he changes the country, and his changes are horrible. For Georgians, for everybody in this country. He wants to pack the Supreme Court. Schumer, when he does that, he's going to infringe on our First and Second Amendment rights. Schumer wants Medicare for all, which will ruin Medicare and kick 150 million people off their private health care. He wants the Green New Deal, which will cost, 5 times our annual GDP and kill this economy. And we know the Democrats don't support law enforcement and believe in socialism. So I think this is really important. I think we're going to have two big wins. We have a great grassroots effort down there, two great candidates. We're raising money, and we're going to win on January 5th.
Very important for people to understand. Right now, it's 50-48. The balance of power in not only the Senate, but also in Washington relies on the Republicans coming away with at least one of those wins. If the Democrats win both of those, you'll have a 50-50 tie in the Senate, and the vice president is the tiebreaker there. And if it is Vice President Kamala Harris, then they have the White House, they have the Senate, and they still have the House. So very important couple of races. And again, your biggest point here is if they get it all, we're looking at possibly going right towards socialism.
Yeah, and it's not what this country wants. If you look at this election, look at Florida. There was election of, there's a lot of people in Florida that experienced socialism, and they voted against it. That's why Donald Trump had a big win in Florida. This country wants the opportunity to live the dream. Like a kid like me growing up in public housing, my mom said, thank God you grew up in this country, because in this country, you have a chance to live the dream of this country. And it's not socialism. It's not what Kamala Harris said, that she wants equal outcomes. It's equal opportunity, and you have to go make it happen.
Senator, you were governor of Florida before. Senator, when you look at the state, look at Kemp and what's going on with Kemp, are you surprised Georgia is having such a hard time voting Republican?
I think they're going to vote Republican. I think that, this is going to be about the future of the country. I've been in Georgia. I've campaigned there for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. People are very similar to what you see in Florida. They want lower taxes, less regulation. They want a great education system. They want law enforcement. They want safe communities. That's the Republican agenda. That's why Trump had a big win in Florida. I think that's why Kelly and David are going to have big wins on January 5th. It's what this country wants, and clearly it's what Georgians want.
Do you think Governor Kemp could have done more with the investigation into some of the voter situations going on in the state?
Well, I think whenever you see things that don't look right, you always, in hindsight, say, what else could you do that would make people focus on it? We clearly have to understand, the signature match. We've got to understand what happened there. We've got to make sure that that people had to show ID. Some of the basic things we just got to make sure they happen, and then we got to go campaign like crazy and tell people this is why Republicans are better for you. I won my races because I went out and I talked to everybody in my state. I won the Hispanic vote in all 3 of my statewide races. It's because they want to live the dream just like all of us want to live the dream of this country. But we have to go talk to everybody.
All right. All right. We're going to leave it there. Florida Senator Rick Scott, thank you for your time.
Have a great day, Eric.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says people should avoid traveling over the holidays, and Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan hit back, tweeting, what will he cancel next, saying Merry Christmas. Welcome back, Congressman. You took a lot of heat for that tweet, but guess what? You captured the sentiment of so many people with that tweet. They say one thing, cancel everything, then we're catching them in bars, restaurants, and hanging out with their family.
Yeah. No, the double standard is driving Americans crazy. The World Health Organization said not only you can't travel during Christmas, the World Health Organization said you can't hug anyone. You can't hug your mom at Christmas. This is crazy. And think about this, Eric. In Ohio, you have to be in your home at 10. In Pennsylvania, when you're in your home, you have to wear a mask. But in Vermont, when you're in your home, you don't have to wear a mask because you're not allowed to have people over. That is what government is doing to American citizens, to your fundamental liberties on your own property, in your own home. And frankly, Americans are tired of it, particularly small business owners who are being treated in the way that they are.
I wrote about that in the monologue at the top of the show, and it's the point I was trying to make is exactly what you said. It almost seems like they're hiding behind this COVID pandemic, and it's serious, and I get it. But what do Democrats, what do lawmakers love to do? They like to get bigger. They want to reach further and further into your life, into your bedroom, into your wallet, and everyone seems to be wanting to do that. The lawmakers want to control our lives more and more. You would push back, I would take it.
Yeah, well, of course. Bill Barr did a memo to all U.S. attorneys back in April when this thing started, and he indicated that memo. He said the Constitution is not suspended during a crisis, and amen to that. This is when it, frankly, I would argue is most important during times like this, during serious times like this. So this is driving Americans crazy, and particularly the inconsistency. We have a Toledo, Ohio, casinos are open, but schools are closed. You have this school in Atlanta where kids can't go to school, but they're filming a movie in the same facility. So this kind of crazy treatment that defies common sense is really what's frustrating so many Americans. And then when you add to that, the politicians who enact these measures, who get to go to the restaurants with their friends, the five-star restaurants with their friends, and not wear a mask and do all the things that they tell us we can't do, that particularly offends America.
I think Governor Cuomo in New York, he said to Fauci that he and Fauci were the Pacino and De Niro of their time. What do you respond to those two?
No, I'm tired of. I'm just tired of it all, and I think Americans are. I know the folks I get the privilege of representing are sick and tired of these kind of this elite one set of rules for the elite and the Pacino and whoever he said, De Niro, I guess. And the different set of rules for us regular folks. Again, that just frustrates so many Americans. Is not consistent with our Constitution and is not consistent, frankly, with common sense. And I would also add, not consistent with the science. There is a great piece that the Hillsdale College put out in the Imprimis article where it talks about the Barrington Declaration and all these MDs, all these PhDs, and have a background in science and health, who said that we should follow common sense guidelines, not what we're seeing from so many of these mayors and so many of these governors.
Jim, Congressman, I look at some of the rules, and you pointed out the rules that are so vastly different from state to state, from town to town, from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, from city to city. How is it that you have to wear a mask when you walk into a restaurant? You can walk across the restaurant, but when you sit down and take off the mask, I just don't understand it. Are they making these rules up as they go? And then, God forbid, if you don't adhere to the rules, they want to throw you in jail.
No, it sure seems like they're making them up as they go. And maybe the one that's really bothering so many small business owners and so many of the good folks that I get the privilege of representing is this idea that you have unelected bureaucrats in these health commissions, whatever, telling small business owners your business is essential, your business is non-essential. Because my guess is every small business owner thinks their business is pretty darn important, pretty darn essential, at least to them and their family, and many times to that community. So that's the frustrating part as well, when you got unelected people deciding which businesses can stay open and saying you're not essential, but yet you are. It's pretty darn essential to these people who put their whole life savings, everything into engaging in this livelihood and running this small business. And I think Americans find that particularly frustrating also.
Let's get government out of our lives. Congressman Jim Jordan, always appreciate your time, sir.
You bet, Eric. Thank you so much. Take care. Oh, and Eric, Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Hanukkah and Festivus, if that counts. The economy in the new year next. I talk with President Obama's former economic advisor, Austan Goolsbee. You'll want to hear what he has to say next.
America, one nation, from Florida to St. Louis to Seattle. America This Week, America's fastest growing political show, delivers facts, not falsehoods.
Well, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I appreciate the opportunity to clear some of it up.
Hard-edged opinions.
We can no longer rely on China to be the primary producer of so many critical products that we need in a time of crisis.
Tough topic debates.
Has the mainstream media vetted Joe Biden the way they vetted others on the right?
I just believe that all women have the right to speak their truth and that those truths should also be investigated. The end, regardless of what political party they are a part of.
America This Week reveals the topics and issues that pulse throughout America. Fighting COVID-19.
We're working with every single state to be able to detect outbreaks before they spread into the community.
And the path forward.
Getting back to some degree of normality, that will come. We will get over this.
America This Week investigates chaos at the southern border.
Go, 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 go.
The poisoning of America.
It's in the soils, it's in the water, and it's in our blood.
Toxic chemicals linked to multiple cancers found in towns across America.
We were poisoned, and we are still poisoned.
Almost every day, there is a new community that is finding out that their water is contaminated.
America This Week relentlessly seeks the truth on your behalf.
I'm Eric Bolling. Join me for a fascinating look at America This Week.
They said the stock market will boom if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash. Okay.
That was President Trump during the final presidential debate, claiming if Biden won, the economy will tank. Now, Moody's is predicting a potential recession in the new year. Welcome back to the show. President Obama's former economic advisor, Professor Austan Goolsbee. Professor, you know, I'm watching the stock market go up. I'm watching $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there, a couple trillion. America is on the junk, sir, professor of economics, professor. Americans on the junk. What happens when we stop giving people money to spend?
Well, it depends if we got control of the virus or not, I think. I mean, I always say the virus is the boss here. And the good news is we're going to have this vaccine or some collection of vaccines by maybe the middle of next year. But boy, between now and then, a lot could go wrong if we neglect to try to slow the spread of this thing.
Okay, but let's talk about the economy, Austan. I mean, the economy, we've seen 18–19% unemployment at the depths of the pandemic, and now we're hovering around 6%. Is this a healthy economy? And should the stock market be making record highs, if not for $1 trillion stimulus packages?
Yeah, it's not a very good economy. You know, we've snapped back about half to 2/3 of the hole that we fell into as this thing began. I've been surprised. I mean, we've talked about this before, Eric. I've been surprised that the stock market has been as buoyant, as resilient, or whatever as it has been. We had that one day where we lost 21 million jobs. They announced in a single month, worst day in the history of the job market, the stock market went up. I think part of it is the relief money that's coming from the government. But I think another part of it is the view that big companies are not going to have as much small company competition if a lot of these small businesses are going to go under. So their profitability is going up. If you're
Austin,
big
you and I know
enough
this.
to have a stock,
You and I know this. 70% of the employment in America comes in small businesses. So if big Walmarts and Targets and the big companies and Amazon are hiring and they're making some money, all the money, what happens to the 70%, the small businesses? When the stimulus stops, Austin, come on, the shoe has to drop. There are going to be people out of work. What are we going to continue? We're going to become a socialist country if we're going to continue to pay people to stay home because they can't get jobs because the big companies are the only people hiring.
Well, wait, I was with you. I was going along with you. I was agreeing with everything you said until you went off the rails on the last sentence. Look, this thing is a temporary shock that's hitting the economy. It's not unlike a natural disaster. It's not unlike a big world war. And the thing that we have to do for a temporary shock is try to prevent that temporary thing from becoming permanent. And I fear that by saying, no, let's cut off the relief money, you threaten to make permanent a lot of these closings of small businesses. They won't be able to come back. People get evicted from their homes. They won't be able to move back in. So I think we'd be better off providing temporary relief and extending it. I don't consider that
Austin?
stimulus, by the way.
When do you stop?
You stop
once
we got the vaccine and the virus is done. That's when you stop.
Well, we got the vaccine. It's coming now. Now they're talking about another $1 trillion.
It's coming, but it's not here yet. It's not here yet. That's the point, is that we're going to have hundreds of thousands of people dying and millions of businesses going under permanently if we do not control the spread of this virus and if we don't give relief right now. We're going to turn a temporary thing into a permanent thing. That's what I don't want to happen.
All right. I'm going to have to leave it there, Austin, but I will give you credit on one thing, something that I've been preaching about for the better part of 15 years on television, that the debt matters, and a massive, massive debt that we are running, national debt, is a national security risk. And for some reason, no one else seems to care. It's been a talking point for a very long time. We're $23 trillion in debt on our way to 25 or 30 or 50. Who knows? When does it stop? I have no idea. Austan Goolsbee, everybody. Always good to have you on, my friend.
Great to see you again, Eric.
Coming up, rules for thee, but not for me, as some Democrats do the exact things they tell their constituents to avoid. Our panel discusses the hypocrisy next. And the phone calls haven't stopped rolling in, and I'm listening, and we hear you. You can call toll-free 888-601-0032 and say whatever you want to say about anything you want. Here are just a few from this past week.
Eric, Biden isn't even in office yet, and he's lying. He's been lying all through this process. And he said he was going to put his top best medical staff on day one. Well, who he's talking about is Trump's staff.
Hey, Eric, keep up the fight. If Thomas Jefferson could see the freedom of the press, what they've done with it, turning into lies, he would roll over in his grave.
I was calling in regard to the 3 ex-presidents who are volunteering to take the COVID vaccine first. I'm wondering if they own stock in the vaccine companies and are trying to make money.
Now, that is a very interesting question. We will look into that. Here's that number again, 888-601-0032, toll free. Always, right now, it's more important than ever for you to be heard. Follow me on Twitter at Eric Bolling, and we will make sure they hear you too.
United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American valor. American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time. We stand America. United we stand. We stand America. United we stand. Ready to help, ready to serve. It takes everyone with steady nerves. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time. We stand America. United we stand. We stand American strong. City by city, state by state, town by town, stand American great. Everyone stands American strong. When strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time. We stand America. United we stand. We stand America. United we stand.
As I mentioned at the top of the show, it's been a whole lot of do as I say, not as I do from the Democrats when it comes to slowing the pandemic. Let's welcome back our panel. Sinclair political commentator Amisha Cross, host of the Armstrong Williams Show, Armstrong Williams, member of the President's National Security Education Board, host of America First on Salem Radio, and Sinclair Media contributor Dr. Sebastian Gorka, and University of Maryland lecturer Dr. Jason Nichols. Doc, I'll take Dr. Sebastian Gorka first. What's with these Democrats, Doc? What's with the California Democrats, some in Colorado as well? They tell us lockdown, don't meet family, don't travel, and they're doing the exact opposite.
Truly remarkable. It's like Marie Antoinette's ghost has risen. It's not just Nancy with her $23,000 fridge and her $100 per gallon ice cream. It's whoever you choose. It's Gruesome Newsom. It's Nancy Pelosi's nephew, the governor of California. It's the mayor of Austin. It's people who literally, the mayor of Los Angeles, Garcetti, says, let's cancel it all. He actually said, cancel it all. But not if you're a Democrat politician. Then you can go and see your grandmother. Then you can go to a wedding in Mexico. Then you can go to the most expensive restaurant in Los Angeles. This is the new aristocracy. It is the do as I say, not as I do Democrats.
Amisha, what about the mayor of Austin deciding to get on a private airplane flying to Cabo just a little after he's decided that it's time for everyone to social distance and not meet family?
I absolutely think that it's problematic, but it goes to show what people of means, whether they're Democrat or Republican, have the habit of doing. Not everybody can afford to go on a private jet, so that's not a level of access that they have. But I do think there's something to be said about the amount of Democrats that we're seeing do this. We know that sheerly from jump, Democrats have taken this more seriously by and large, but there are some examples of things going wrong. But let's not forget, there was just a White House Christmas party last week. So this is something that is going around both sides of the aisle, and more people should take COVID-19 seriously than we're actually seeing do it.
You know, Jason, the difference here is these Democrats are saying don't meet family. Let's cancel Thanksgiving. Let's cancel Christmas. Let's cancel meetings. Let's stay away from family members, from other people. And then they're doing the exact opposite. They're going to restaurants. They're getting caught. You know what it is? And I talked about it in the monologue. They're not sorry for doing it. They kind of smile and apologize. They're sorry they got caught. Jason, I suggested fire them all. Your thoughts? By the way, these are all Democrats. Careful.
Well, first of all, I think that Amisha is right that we need to model things a little bit better. And I want to tell your audience up front that I have a COLD, not COVID. But I think we definitely on both sides of the aisle that officials need to model what it is that they're trying to tell citizens to do. The president has done a very poor job of that to the point where he caught COVID, to the point where Rudy Giuliani has COVID. There's rumors that Jenna Ellis has it because they're not modeling what will keep Americans safe. And going to see your grandmother is a bad idea.
Jason, focus in what the question is. Jason, it's the political hypocrisy of Democrats saying, here's our stance on things. Shut it down. Shut the economy down. Stay away from people. Shut the restaurants down. And then they're doing things that are exactly opposite. They're going to different places. They're going to restaurants. They're flying. They're traveling. They're hanging out with their friends. It's the hypocrisy. There's no hypocrisy on the right when Trump says this doesn't matter. I don't agree with him. I think masks matter. But there's no hypocrisy. They say masks don't matter, and then they all get sick. That's not hypocrisy. The hypocrisy is when a Democrat says, shut the economy down, don't meet family and friends, and then they go do it themselves.
No, I think it's definitely problematic. I definitely think that Democrats need to model what it is that they're saying in order to keep people safe. Now, going to restaurants where there's social distancing, I think is actually a good thing because we want those businesses to get business. So I think if you are going to wear a mask into the restaurant, they're set up for social distancing and the like. I don't think the expense of the restaurant matters. I think that they actually need the business. So I would say, I would encourage people to...
That's Jason. I'm gonna bring it over to Armstrong. But the problem is these people on the West Coast and others are saying, don't go to restaurants. Shut them down. But bury these businesses. Meanwhile, when was the last time one of these jerks who are telling people shut their restaurants down, when was the last time they forewent a paycheck?
You know, I actually think there's a much larger issue here. I think what the Democrats are really displaying to the American people that these protocols are very difficult. No matter how much you may advocate it, the realism of it is very difficult to abide by these guidelines that is put in place. And I think President Trump, on the other hand, really expressed and represents how most people feel. Many people like to say it's because of President Trump that people don't wear masks, they don't social distance. It's not about that. We're so accustomed to freedom and independence. It's very difficult for us to change something that we've been accustomed to all our lives. We don't want to live like these Chinese places that we see on TV wearing the mask. I think we all have to get to a point where we have to adjust. And then you have the COVID protocols that are always changing. One day the masks are okay. Sometimes your kids shouldn't go to school because they could catch COVID. And the next day they tell us, no, there's no issue about social distancing for kids to go to school. So much continues to change and so much continues for us to adapt to. And I think the larger issue is that Democrats need to admit more the reality of just how difficult it is trying to put these protocols in place.
All right. Allow me to get to Sebastian. One final thought. Again, Gavin Newsom he traveled to a $450 per plate dinner when he told the rest of the restaurants in New York to start shutting down.
You nailed it, Eric. Their only regret is that they got caught. And even when they get caught, they lie. Remember what Gruesome Newsom said. He said, well, we were outside. It was okay. Gavin, we've seen the photographs. You weren't outside. You were in that restaurant with your buddies. The rules don't apply. So my question is COVID not dangerous? If you don't have to wear a mask, if you don't have to social distance, what's the truth, Gavin and DNC?
Yeah, rules for thee and separate rules for me. Typical politicians are going to say thank you to Armstrong, to Amisha, to Jason, and Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Thank you, guys. Every week we honor first responders who died in the line of duty protecting our country. Patrolman Cassie Johnson with the Charleston, West Virginia Police Department died on December 3rd after a suspect shot her. Patrolman Johnson served the police department for 2 years and leaves behind her mother, brother, and sister. Officer Andy Ornelas with the California Highway Patrol died December 2nd in a motorcycle crash while he was responding to another wreck. Officer Ornelas was with the Highway Patrol for 4 years. He is survived by his wife, parents, brother, and sister. His parents, brother, and an uncle also all serve in law enforcement. To serve and protect clearly runs in his family. Rest in peace, officers.
America, one nation, from Florida to St. Louis to Seattle. America This Week, America's fastest growing political show, delivers facts not falsehoods.
Well, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I appreciate the opportunity to clear some of it up.
Hard-edged opinions.
We can no longer rely on China to be the primary producer of so many critical products that we need in a time of crisis.
Tough topic debates.
Has the mainstream media vetted Joe Biden the way they vetted others on the right?
I just believe that all women have the right to speak their truth and that those truths should also be investigated. The end, regardless of what political party they are a part of.
America This Week reveals the topics and issues that pulse throughout America. Fighting COVID-19.
We're working with every single state to be able to detect outbreaks before they spread into the community.
And the path forward.
Getting back to some degree of normality, that will come. We will get over this.
America This Week investigates chaos at the southern border.
Go, 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 go.
The poisoning of America.
It's in the soils, it's in the water, and it's in our blood.
Toxic chemicals linked to multiple cancers found in towns across America.
We were poisoned, and we are still poisoned.
Almost every day, there is a new community that is finding out that their water is contaminated.
America This Week relentlessly seeks the truth on your behalf.
I'm Eric Bolling. Join me for a fascinating look at America This Week. I'd like to bring in Turning Point USA senior contributor and the host of the Rob Smith is Problematic podcast, Rob Smith. Rob, welcome to the show. You know, we started the show with Democrats and politicians behaving badly, being hypocritical. Let's end it the same way towards the end of the show. Let's talk a little bit about these politicians who are caught doing the things that they are mandating we not do.
Absolutely. Look, we've been seeing this over and over again for the past couple of months. Look at the mayor of Austin, who was caught on a vacation in Mexico, telling his constituents not to go anywhere, to stay home for the holiday. You got, Lori Lightfoot from Chicago getting caught getting her hair cut. You got Nancy Pelosi. She went to the hair salon when she was telling everybody to stay home. I mean, my goodness. You've got Gavin Newsom in California, a dinner with a $15,000 bill just for the wine, by the way, while he was telling people not to dine inside. And by the way, shutting down everything in his state. So the list goes on and on and on. And I think, Eric, at a certain point, the American people see things like this. And there's nobody, here in America that does not want to do our part to keep each other safe. That is not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is the idea that our gilded elites, they cannot wait to tell us what to do. They cannot wait to shut down businesses that are destroying people's livelihoods. They cannot wait to tell us to stay home, but are not acting in the ways in that they push us and force us to act.
Yeah, and one of the things that really irks me about this is they're hiding, I'll call it hiding behind the COVID pandemic to get deeper and deeper into our lives. Tell us what we can and what we can do, when we have to be inside our house. I mean, this is stuff from George Orwell's 1984, but it's playing out in 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eric, what I like is this trend that's going on. There's law enforcement, and there was a sheriff in California, I think a couple of sheriffs, that said, we will not enforce these things on otherwise law-abiding citizens. So in other words, you're not going to use the force of the government to compel law enforcement to arrest otherwise law-abiding citizens for doing things like walking out of their house. I guess there's another stay-at-home order in California. Apparently, there's another one coming up here in North Carolina. And I think that's the trend. So it has to be freedom-loving Americans that are standing up against this tyranny. And you see the trend of so many small business owners that are starting to defy these lockdowns. They know that they are not based in science. They are based on absolutely nothing. And they're saying, I need to run my business. I need to have my livelihood. And by the same way, at the same time, we have so many and so much money that has gone into big box retailers like Target, Amazon, Walmart, stuff like that, while our small businesses are hurting. So it's almost like there's this massive transfer of wealth to big box retailers and away from small businesses, which are the backbone of this country.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to leave it there, Rob, but what blows me away is on one hand, we talk about having freedom of speech, and we talk about the autonomous zone being okay in Seattle and in Portland, but you try and open an autonomous zone to keep your bar open just so your employees can get a paycheck, and you go to jail. We got to leave it there. Rob Smith, always good having you. Don't be so problematic, Rob.
Hey, I'm always problematic. Thanks, Eric.
Don't forget, if you set your DVR, you'll never miss an episode of America This Week. We have a complete list of times and cities on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com/America Bolling. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel to see all of our shows right there.
United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time. We stand, America. United we stand. We stand, America. United we stand. Ready to help, ready to serve. It takes everyone with steady nerves. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time. We stand, America. United we stand. We stand, America strong. City by city, state by state, town by town, stand American great. Everyone stands American strong. When strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time. We stand America. United we stand. We stand America. United we stand.
This week marks 79 years since the attack on Pearl Harbor, ushering the U.S. into World War II. So it seems appropriate to remember a legendary World War II flying ace we also lost this week, General Chuck Yeager. General Yeager earned 55 medals during his service. During the war, he was once shot down over France but escaped capture. Later, he became the first person to break the sound barrier in 1947. And after the war, he became a test pilot. The general was 97 years old. We are grateful for his service and extend our sympathies to his family and friends. Have a great night, everybody.